my switcher just wasn't giving sound. And then after a couple of plug and unplugs, it just decided, yeah, okay, I guess we'll do sound again. All right, well, anyway, hey, another rollicking start to the best produced show on the internet, as always. All right, let me close down some of the stuff right here. Boy, this sucker's getting edited at the end. That is definitely this is one for the books. All right, let me go ahead and set up my chromas again. I'm trying to think, what did we not shut off during all this? Okay, anyway, I think that's about it. Volume a lot better. Okay. So good in absolute format. Excellent. I'm glad you guys are just talking amongst yourselves, because that's so glad to have an audience. Okay, anyway, so I think we're good to go now. Let's pretend that we started the whole show right. And now, hi, welcome to the ComicBase broadcast. This is the live stream. We do this every week at about 4 o'clock, sometimes a few minutes after 4 o'clock if for some reason there's no sound or something like that. I'm your host, Pete Bickford, and we'll be editing out the last 10, 12 minutes or so that no one will ever know it happened. Anyway, so I have, if you wouldn't mind, please hit the like and subscribe button. It invites more people to enjoy the fun, if nothing else. It also helps us get the word around quite a bit, especially in the early moments of what will be the edited version of this podcast. Anyway, I have a number of announcements that I want to make. If you guys have questions, please post them in the chat. I check it, which is why we know things like there's no sound coming out. Anyway, I also have a number of announcements I want to make, but I don't have that much like technical support type content I want to bring in this week. So if you don't ask questions, it's going to be kind of a brief show despite all the stuff I will be talking about. All right, so with all that said, big news of the week, well, actually a number of things new this week. First of all, ComicBase 21.0.2 is out, which, how can you not be excited about a 0.2 release? You know, it just screams major improvement, doesn't it? But what it really amounts to is that's our quarterly update for Q2. It rolls in everything we've been doing for the last 4 months or so in the product. The major thing that we've done, there's kind of a number of different themes, but there's a number of big improvements to foreign currency handling and the way if you're running your database in a different currency than, say, your Windows is set for if you're in a country other than the United States. It introduces a lot of the old stuff that we used to do back in the ComicBase 17 series. That made its way back into the program, and there's a lot of refinements around just everything from the way quick change works on currencies to various things like that. There's also, we've reformatted the displays to better support foreign currencies, things like Swiss francs, put CHF after the currency symbol and so forth. And so if we didn't increase some of these displays, they would wind up clipping and so forth. So anyway, a lot of futzy work around currencies is one thing. For everyone who has a Pro or Archive edition, we have all the features that were rolled into the mobile this time out are now part of the official release, which means that everyone will start getting the benefit of those, not just the folks who've been getting the preliminary updates. In particular, what that means is if you are using ComicBase 17, 21.0.2, build 1747, I think is the current build. But if you're using it and you use Sidekick to save your database to the cloud, it now actually integrates your database. It stores a copy of your data in a table that we can get to very rapidly. It does two very important things. One is it makes it so that our back-end reporting works far faster. So you see a lot less lag when you're waiting for your reports to show up. And more importantly, we now have the ability through the mobile app to use the data that's loaded into that database to show you your results for your collection as you're scrolling through the title listings. Now, I do have one to-do item. One thing that did not get done this week is there is a known bug when scrolling large titles on Macintosh or iOS devices where you can get in a situation where the app we think it's running out of memory, but it'll seize up and bail on you. We hope to have that resolved in the next week. We're making some progress on that one, but it's proved a little bit of a thorny one. Android does not seem to have this issue, which is odd because we're actually using the same code on both platforms, and one works like a champ and one doesn't. So go figure. And it's also not beyond the pale that the new Mac OS 14.5, which also is shipping, if not this week, I think the next one, may also have an impact on that for good or for bad. So it may get solved two different ways. You never know. But we plan to have that addressed in any case. But the main thing though is you don't, if you're using the new mobile features, you really don't need to go to your reports as much anymore. So you can, so if you've got just Kingdom Come or Tomb of Dracula or some title like that, when you just look it up either by the name or barcode in the app, you'll actually see which issues you've got and what condition they're in right in the listing. So you don't need to say, oh, it's really answering that use case of, hey, do I have this issue of Hellblazer, the one I keep buying because I think it's the one I'm missing, instead it's the one I bought 5 times because I keep focusing on it, but I can never remember if I have it already. It should answer that question quite a bit better. And if you guys might remember, this was the thing that when I did my vacation a month or so ago, it drove me absolutely round the bend, because the first thing I did when I wasn't even out of this, down to Florida yet. I just, was halfway through Alabama. I stopped for lunch. I found a store that sold old comic books, and had great deals on graphic novels. And I couldn't remember if I had a copy of Superman Action Comics Archives number 5, I think it was. And it was impossible, given the location I was at and the device I had with me, to look it up in any kind of reasonable manner. So that actually wound up spawning the entire feature. So this sort of thing can happen. So if you have things like that happen in your life, let us know, because sometimes we can change things. All right, that's the big news on ComicBase 2102. Other things that are huge is we have really been pounding the content on this one, and I gotta give a lot of credit to a lot of our contributors, especially Andre, who I think single-handedly posted like about 10 or 11,000 books, to the system recently. Just crazy how much content you guys are giving us, and it's really keeping us busy. But we very much appreciate it. The comic count in the new database, there's a new database that's now bundled with the program, so we've updated that. So if you ever do file new and create yourself a new database, it'll be fully updated now. That one is now shipping with 928,558 comics, 11,910 books, and 39,148 magazines. We're getting very close to having 1 million items overall in the whole thing. So anyway, crazy amounts of stuff. We're also posting new disc images, so if you were to download the program right now, you'd get all the new stuff on there. I would ask if you are looking to download all the picture images. However, for the archive or the Blu-ray, give us a day or two. We'd really like to post them out to our content delivery servers. It'll be a faster download for you guys, and it will be a lot less strain on our servers. So please, if you're of a mind to re-download all the pictures of the entire program all at once, please give that a little bit before you do that. It'll help us out. All right, other things that are new and fun in the world, and let me do a quick check of the chat here. Oh, hail Andre the Giant, absolutely, man. All right, so let's see here. Yeah. It's So anyway, note on the app and everything. And let's see here. Oh, ERB 1211 has a question. I never set a price for any of my comics. I've never sold any of them on Atomic Avenue, so why are the value column and the price column not the same when I run a collection report? Great question. It's because the value of your comics is computed down to the nth decimal place. It's going to be exactly a certain thing, whereas the price, if your book is not near mint, is going to round to the next sensible number. So take a comic book that's let's say it's worth its value in very fine or something computes out to like $96.12, some crazy thing like that, based purely on the percentages off of its near mint price. If you've gotten very fine though, nobody in the universe sells something for $96.12. That is a nuts price. So what happens is we have a series of rounding routines in the program which will round it up or down to the next sensible number. So that one will probably get rounded to $95 when you post it for sale, and that'll be its default sale price. Now, if you really, really want to, you can mass change and set your price to be exactly what the value is if you want. I wouldn't suggest it because it'll be nutty, because you'll have things that are that are again some pennies this, that, and the other way, and it'll make other people wonder what the heck is wrong with you. But anyway, that's why value and price are not always exactly the same. They're usually very close, but they're not usually to the penny. All right, and let's see here. Yes, if I hit like and subscribe, Pete wins free 2 YouTube lessons. That would be great. All right, excellent. Other things that are happening right now is the Blu-rays are coming out, and if you're one of the few folks that's left that we owe a Blu-ray to this time, you'll be getting yours in the next week or so. Those are shipping with all 726,890 pics on them. It took us a couple rounds of compression to get them all to fit on the whole thing, so those were lagging behind the archive a little bit, but those are all out there. And once again, if you are of a mind to, please give it a couple days before you download those. It would help us out. All right, other things that are going on. Atomic Avenue, we have some news on. Let me switch the camera over there. And we finally got, and let me go ahead and close up my, channel while I was messing around with the, streaming settings. So we finally got autocomplete working in here the way that we really wanted it to. So so if I go and I type in something like Godzilla or something like that, it now scrolls with the pictures and does all this stuff exactly the way we wanted to. If you were paying attention to this in the last week or so, you might have seen some very strange implementations of it. The initial whack we had at it was not particularly well thought out, but we've got it working now the way we want, and we're pretty happy with it. Where this really comes in is if someone's sitting there and they're looking for something like Justice League. A lot of times people have a hard time knowing, well, okay, I've got the one that looks kind of like that. Is that the first series, the second series, the third series, the fourth series, etc.? And so this really takes a lot of the work out of knowing, am I even on the right series before you get going? So I'm really happy that got going. This is also a payoff we have from the work we did re-encoding all the pictures and the entire site. That thing that we did that ran for about a week of getting them so they're very quickly accessible. We're actually bringing back like 200 results every character I type. So I could even now even just type the letter, a single letter, so like the letter 4, and you bring back the first 200 things that start with the letter 4 or have the word 4 in them. This actually is useful because, as you guys might know, there is actually a title called 4. Or for that matter, there's one called 1963, 1951, etc. But it's also useful being able to bring back this much stuff when people type something like Amazing Spider-Man. Which, whoops, not Spidman, Spider-Man. Which, the funny thing there is, bringing back the first 200 items only gets you about halfway down the list. So, crazy how much redundancy there is in the world of comics, but yeah, we are able to do this stuff pretty much as fast as you can type it now, and I'm really happy about that. So it's a little thing, but honestly, the main way that anyone gets around on Atomic Avenue, period, is that search box, and so anything we can do to make that work better is a good thing. Oh, another thing you might have noticed is as you're typing, as soon as you see the one you want, if you just hit return on it, you don't need to hit return, have it complete, and then hit the go button. It works the way you think it would work. And so a little bit of JavaScript in the right place went a really long way, as well as a week worth of picture encoding. So we're happy about that one. Glad to see that finally done. Other things that have been happening on Atomic Avenue, we've done a lot of work on the back end to make it so it's a little less laggy. There's less times during the day where it just kind of gets really sluggish for a minute or two as it backs up some huge process or something like that. We're really trying to smooth out the rear end kinks on that one. And we also are doing more work on the back end for when you guys submit databases or sales files and processing. There's a lot more scrubbing of your data over before it tries to get ingested by the programs. Not to prevent errors on you guys so much. Honestly, it's to prevent our programs that are trying to compute it from hitting errors. So if we've had people who have put crazy stuff in date fields. We've just crazy values from the year 0 or the year 2 in dates and things like that. And due to the different types of databases that have to work with the data, sometimes the limits of your local database are not the limit of the database it needs to talk to, and so you can get problems like that. But we do more work on the back end just from watching all your databases to keep those data from causing things to throw errors on the back end and kind of hose up the work. So hopefully there'll be less times when you guys will do something like posting a sales file and then wondering 8 hours later why it didn't post, and the answer is because something flagged on the server that needs administrator attention to. Hopefully these things will get rarer and rarer as we deal with more types of weirdness. And then the other thing that's really going to help on the back end is as you guys start using the new mobile features in ComicBase 2102 that we've been talking about for the last several weeks, the actual generation of everyone's reports should take a tiny fraction of what it used to take, and that really helps the server load. So anyway, all things considered, it's going to be a really good time for, hopefully our servers will sit there at a nice comfortable 8% load while the system's fully functioning, and that's the way we like it. Okay, so on to other things. Let me just do a quick check of the chat. I will say it takes forever indexing magazine articles. Oh yeah, indeed. Thank you. By the way, Jeff, and thank you everyone who has been spending your time, handing us stuff, in terms of content. I even do the same thing when I'll get a copy of some magazine just in the office, and I'll start indexing and be like, oh, you got to be kidding me. This is a lot of work. But when it's all said and done, it really adds up to a great resource. So I'm pretty digging it. All right, so let's see what else is going on here. The new set of covers, is it posted yet? Not quite yet. Give it a couple days if you would. If you went to the main distro server, you can download it, but I haven't pushed them out to the. I haven't pushed the disk images to our content delivery servers yet, and I want to shift that load off of our main servers before we have people heavily start downloading that stuff. Okay, so let's see here. Pete, did you think of giving the job to upload covers to Sidekick? To upload covers. Not sure if what you're thinking of, or unless you're thinking of are you talking about when you're submitting like that crazy number of sci-fi books that you gave me? Not sure. One thing we did in the last year, we used to spin up what's called an FTP process for transmitting. That's how we used to have you guys send pictures up to us. The problem, the good news about that is it gives you a nice status about how it's doing along the way. The bad news is everyone's firewall software was just croaking on it because FTP is a very strange protocol that involves opening up between 2 and about 50,000 ports in your firewall in order to do its thing. What happens is it uses one port to kind of signal where it wants to be sending data to. It uses what's called a control channel, and then it has a range of port numbers. Say ports 50,000 through 55,000. It'll say, yeah, we're going to pick one of those, and that'll be where we transmit the data. And all that stuff back and forth, it just wound up just being a massive hassle with people's firewalls, and we just couldn't cope with it anymore. It wound up being just a tech support time sink from hell, and also very frustrating to customers, obviously. So over the last year or two, we've been really getting rid of there's nothing in our world that uses FTP transport anymore, and probably in the next year or so we're going to officially mothball FTP support on a server. So if you have a very old version of ComicBase or ComicBase Free and you haven't updated in a million years, you're going to need to do that before you're able to send us stuff anymore. So the HTTP has been a real win for that because it doesn't need to open a new connection. It's always it's using the same ports that you're used to using for your websites. That's port 80 and port 443 if you're a network geek. So that stuff works really well. The downside of it is the connection that Microsoft gives us for doing that gives no status in between. So it's one big long transaction that just says, yeah, here's a bunch of data. And until the data is done, you don't really get anything that tells you how is it going. We're looking into, are there ways to break that up, maybe using a third-party control for that. At the moment, we don't have anything. We just want to get it working really, really reliably. But yeah, the use case you've got where you're uploading, say, 3,500 covers at the same time, that is definitely one of the stress cases. And if you do, the maximum HTTP request that our server will handle is vast, but if you do somehow try to get or push more than that number, then you might need to do it in two chunks, is kind of the long and the short of it. Okay. Let's see. On AA, is it possible to have the search first list items for a seller that are already in your cart? Trying to understand the question. Have the search first list items from a seller that are already in your cart. So you more or less you'd want the search results to come back and say these are the ones you've already got. It's actually not a bad idea. So that way you wouldn't keep on like trying to add the same items to your cart. I'm assuming, is that the use case? If it's not, let me know. But that sounds pretty rational to me actually. So anyway, and Lance said, nice job on the design of the AA site. Awesome. I'm very happy about that. Okay, cool. All right, so other stuff that we had to announce. Okay, yeah, honestly, I'm kind of getting to the end of my announcements, so if you guys don't have questions, we could actually wrap this one up in a reasonable amount of time. In personal life, I got my second flu shot, so I am also, my superpowers are now, fully been activated. I guess they spin up over the next week or two to, being just earth-shattering proportions. But, anyway, they, yeah, it's the COVID foo. At this point it's all over but the shouting for me. We did some back of the envelope math of how extremely unlikely it is that a vaccinated person catches COVID and winds up in any kind of real harm at this point. And there are at least a couple dozen other things that I worry about more than that. I think we looked at it, and the chance of having something terrible happen to you while you're on the toilet is actually about the same level of risk. But anyway, there is a rant that is definitely due in coming about the entire COVID monstrosity that we've all suffered through for the last year. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to do that on a different channel. Two reasons. One is I don't want to compromise this channel with stuff that isn't really comics and comic-based related. And second of all, as I'm 99% certain that YouTube is going to ban it within seconds of it happening. Because I'm noticing more and more just how an incredible amount of both censorship and self-censorship is going on YouTube. And to the point where, like, a lot of my favorite podcasters have an entirely different alternate vocabulary they use whenever you need to talk about one of at least a dozen or so different hot button issues of the times. It's the things that are all over the news every day that everyone's worrying about. But even saying the V word, in which case that's the one that's it rhymes with axine or something like that. That one is enough to get you flagged by YouTube. So for all I know, this I won't need to edit this video. Just by saying that, it could be taken down immediately. But it's amazing how much everyone's dancing around things that are just basically open secrets. You're not allowed to talk about this, that, and the other thing, and how much everyone just kind of, they feel they need to play along because it's not their platform. To that extent, I am going to have to, if I do have something I want to say that I want to be candid about, it's going to have to be on a platform that isn't YouTube is one thing. But then the other thing is, I think for any kind of sanity's sake, I need to look at moving stuff onto a non-YouTube platform just in general. We talked about this ages ago when when big tech started dialing up the censorship knob, prior to the elections and so forth, where they would just vanish massive news stories. They just wouldn't happen, because even though everyone knew about it, it didn't go along with the official party line of the people that big tech wanted in office, and so they throttled or just auto banned the stories. Crazy stuff. It was an amazing show of force, and because they got away with it, and their guys did indeed get elected, they feel very encouraged. I don't feel like I necessarily want to put too much emphasis on platforms that can do that, or they feel that that's a justifiable thing. So I'm looking at a number of different platforms. The one I think I'm most attracted to immediately is called Odyssey, Odyssee, I believe is how it's spelled. It's kind of the video sharing chain face of a technology called LBRY, Library, I guess, which is blockchain based. It's a number of YouTube competitors all have to solve the same really thorny problem, which is to say, you're competing against somebody with a server farm the size of Alaska and similar power requirements. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, I forget how many hundreds of hours of video are uploaded every minute to YouTube. You don't need to have as much content as they do, but you do kind of need to scale in some kind of reasonable way with them. And one really interesting way that these guys have come up with it is they more or less use the same kind of idea that blockchain uses for verifying crypto transactions, where a little bit of, if you're viewing videos, a tiny amount of your computer load is also being used to help process videos and do things like that for other bits. It's not enough so you'd ever notice, but it distributes the load in a way that makes the whole thing actually scalable, and also makes it so that there's no single point of failure to the whole thing. Just like with blockchain, there's no central server I can nuke to take out Bitcoin. It's like the internet. It's distributed again, across a bajillion different places, and you can't really take out the central places. As close as you can get on the internet as you can do things like taking out DNS servers, but there's nothing like a DNS server even in the concept of blockchain. So I would like to invest my time into at least mirroring on some of these other platforms. I don't think I want to give up streaming to YouTube or Facebook or things like that, but I think I want to invest in technologies like StreamYard that put the video more or less simultaneously out on a number of different places, so that when if I say something that somehow gets disappeared from one or the other, that the whole thing doesn't just become an exercise in futility. Anyway, so that's kind of where my head's at on that right now. Odyssey isn't an alternative for me at the moment. Right now I gather that they are beta testing their live streaming ability, but until they've got live streaming really working, it's not going to be something for me. I've looked at Twitch. They also seem to like dabbling into occasionally putting their finger on the scale of things that more and less approved speech. And the funny thing is when you talk about it's like, wow, what are we talking about? Are you talking like bomb making materials, or are you talking about overthrowing governments? No, it's talking about things that just simply don't toe a particular line that a bunch of people are really exercised about. And if the folks who run the service are very much in the camp of whatever that line is, and someone says something against it, they feel like, oh hey, I think we'll just simply bounce anyone who disagrees. And I just don't want to play with kids who take that attitude. It's just like the way that if we had any game we were playing with anybody, and the second that they disagreed with you on any point of the gameplay, that they literally took their ball, went home, and prohibited you from ever coming into their yard, you kind of don't want to hang with those folks anymore. You really want folks with a sense of fair play and a little bit of live and let live with the friendships and the platforms that you put your effort into. And so until we see more of that, I'm starting to hedge my bets, is kind of where I'm coming with all that. Anyway, so with all that said, yes, Twitch is censoring too, absolutely. So Twitch is interesting in that it's a platform that used to be nothing but game streams, which is, I gotta admit, I did not understand this at all. It was the idea like, wait, it's kind of like if you guys are old enough to remember being that guy waiting for someone to finish their game at the arcade, and you know, put your quarter up on the glass just to let people know that, yeah, I'm next. You know, and you kept on hoping that he would, like, you know, die. You know, the worst thing ever is you got some guy who's just really good at asteroids who could play more or less indefinitely. But anyway, but yeah, I never understood, like, with video games, like, you know, someone's gonna play, you know, Mass Effect or something like that, and I'm gonna watch him play Mass Effect for 2 hours. Why wouldn't I just play Mass Effect myself for 2 hours? And the answer is because some of the people not only are decent players, but they're also can keep engaging banter going while, you know, that's all happening. So in a way, it's like a strange way. It's like hanging out with buddies playing video games, even though you're not holding the controller. So that being said, no, not really my thing for the most part. You know, I will say Razor Fist Arcade is occasionally very interesting because the guy's a handful. But anyway, but yeah, Twitch started out as nothing but a game streaming platform, but it's branched out. It's become a stream platform for a lot of other things. But I right now, I think what I'm mostly looking for is alternatives, because I just don't want to be beholden to a couple big guys who at any given moment can take their ball, you know, and go home. Okay, and Greg says, yeah, I got my second shot early last month. Congrats, Greg. I wish you the best. Oh, by the way, I will say one thing. One of the ways I'm going to be celebrating on this whole thing is, on the 1st. If anyone is in Tennessee or thereabouts, I'm having a good old-fashioned mask burning party at my place. So it's going to be brisket, whiskey, cigars, and the occasional flaming piece of infected cloth that's been breathed on and shoved in pockets and back seats for way the hell too long, because I am done with it. I have never been a cosplayer. I've not enjoyed the whole apocalyping that we've been doing for this last year, and like I say, I am done. You know, whatever decisions other people make are now officially your problem, not mine. And I realize there will be some places that really love them some cosplay of the pandemic style, and they don't want me around, in which case maybe I don't need you in my life either. That's kind of my attitude, because this has been a year of the worst LARPing adventure ever, and I'm so over it. Anyway, all right, so that's about it. Greg wants to remind us, yes, we have a dedicated thread on the CB message boards. You can request live stream topics. Audrey said, did you get your email? I did get your email. I've been... And this is the part where I really wish I could bust out Southernisms, you know, like with as much fluency as a native can. Busier than a one-legged man in in an ass-kicking contest or something. I don't know, but I honestly, until about 2 o'clock today, I wasn't sure I was having a live stream because I had so many priority A issues on my plate, and also I didn't know if the shot would kick my ass today. I've been just fine. So, but I will get to it as soon as I possibly can. All right, and cover catalog, yeah, good luck with the whole thing, and that's about it. Guys, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys showing up every week, and sorry for the technical difficulties, and we will edit them all out in post. So anyway, thank you again, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye-bye.